March 20th, 2016. That is the date I'll walk into an exam center here in Paris to take an exam that doesn't exist yet. If you're applying for the nationality in January 2026 or asking for the carte de séjour, the rules have fundamentally changed. The B1 exam is now a B2 exam. We discussed about that in the previous video about nationality. But there's also this new test Civique, the exam Civique, that you need to give as part as your application. Now the government has given us some resources. All these websites that I'm going to mention are in the description. But honestly, this is such a maze and so much boring text. You can do the par thématique and there are 5 themes that you need to know, or you can do it by learning days. And there's a 4-day learning program the government stipulates where you can learn all the facts that will appear in this exam. It's thousands of words of flat, dry text. It's informative for sure, but reading it and then expecting yourself to memorize this,
ain't nobody got time for that.
This decree on the Legifrance lists the scope on the left column, but it doesn't give you the questions. It just tells you all the stuff that you should know. This is a great place to start because it gives you the curriculum. So here's my reality. I have 40 days to prepare for this exam. If you're watching this video, you're probably someone like me who also has a social life, who also probably has a 9 to 5 or a student life they have to get to. So you can't afford to spend 4 or 5 hours a day trying to memorize from plain text that you'll probably forget in a couple of days later. So you need a system. I need a system that will ensure that this data is well acquired in my mind. This isn't my first rodeo. I know a thing or two about learning. I took the text from the syllabus websites, from the Livret du Citoyen and the legal decrees, and I fed them all into Gemini. Not to summarize it, but to interrogate me on these themes, on these questions, on all of these facts. I had it extract every single fact, date, law, geography, and format them into a simple table. Now, this Google Sheet is now my database. Column A is the question, column B is the answer, and column C is the category. This is the target curriculum covering everything from the Lascaux caves from 19,000 years before Christ to the Fifth Republic that we currently live in and how these people get elected. Everything is in this deck. Then I exported to CSV and I imported it into Anki. Now, if you don't know, Anki is a tool that many polyglots and even doctors use to memorize stuff, to learn vocabulary, to learn about the human anatomy and so on. It's an extremely efficient tool and I've already used it in the past. It uses spaced repetition to help you memorize stuff. It constantly fights this forgetting curve because when you read something, you forget it in a couple of days, provided you open it frequently enough and you revise the facts in your Anki deck. Now, I know this works because this isn't the first time I'm using this app. I used it for my first CDI when I was preparing for the interview of my first job here in France in the world of data. And I also used it to learn my French vocabulary. Now, I haven't looked at this in years, but if I went back to data warehousing, star schema was snowflake schema, I remember this. So notice it is again hard, good, and easy. And the easy sets it up for 21 years. It's kind of confident that I will remember it for 21 years if I had remembered it by now. Now, I haven't looked at this in years, but if I just review this over 2 or 3 days, it brushes up my memory, and that's the benefit of this thing. My French expressions are on there, the words I learned on the farm are on there, and now all the questions of this exam Civique is going to be on there. How I would generally use it in the past is actually replace it with Instagram, where you always have Instagram. It's in the bottom left for me. I don't have Instagram anymore, so I have plenty of time. Do a quick review in the morning, and every time you have a couple of minutes when you're waiting in queue or in the metro and don't have much to do, I even find myself answering these questions when I'm walking in the streets because I'm getting hooked to it and I have a deadline. And the best part is I'm not chained to my desk. The fact that I can actually practice this on the go is really my favorite feature of Anki. It synchronizes between all my devices. Now here is exactly how I study. Whether I'm on my phone or on my computer, there's a question, there's no answer. You got to think about it and then hit spacebar or tap your screen. Combien de temps dure le mandat d'un député? 5 ans. Et c'est suffrage direct, universel direct. Not bad at all. So I'm going to hit easy. Quelle période de décolonisation a eu lieu entre 1950 et 1962? I know this answer. It was Indochine and Algeria. There you go. When I hit a fact that I don't understand, instead of just pausing the whole routine, I just flag this red in color so I can come back to research this to understand what this whole thing is about. And if I went to browse and looked at my Anki deck, all of those flagged ones from my phone or from my computer are here. So for example, this one from the Lascaux, I wanted to learn more about that. This one, I asked some of my colleagues if they actually had this Journée de Défense et Citoyenneté. It's mandatory for 16-25-year-olds. What exactly happens? I looked online, I don't know, so I just ask people around me. This helps me not break the flow when I'm studying on my phone or on my computer. Then every 2 or 3 days, I open the research window and I take those flat cards. Now, this is what my research window currently looks like. These are facts that I just opened a couple of weeks ago. And if I go through each tab, there's something specific about this nationality exam that I don't know and I need to learn more about. So these are open tabs that I can come back to research anytime. And I can also access these tabs from my phone, continuity, from Google Chrome. When I'm studying something, when I don't know the answer to it, I look it up online. I do all of the research and reading on Wikipedia to my heart's content. And I write down my version of it in my notebook, which is called Test Civique. Surprise, surprise. Like the Indochina War, I researched it. I watched a 5-minute explanation and I read the summary and then summarized it myself using the Feynman technique. I happen to know a lot of this about Indian history because we studied it in history back home in India. But since I didn't do it here in France, this is how I know a bunch about French history. And it's not very detailed, it's very summary-like and it's very easy to read. So I have all of the context over here. This notebook is what turns facts to fluency. I read these notes casually a few days before the exam and I'm ready with the facts and the context around it. Specifically about French elections, this is something that I struggled with for a long period of time. Imagine France is a giant school. To keep the school running smoothly, the students, the citizens, need to pick the people. So which kind of elections are there? The first one for the presidential elections, then the rule makers, then the town helpers. So each one of these have different roles: municipal elections, legislative elections, presidential elections, and so on. It gets confusing when you don't know the hierarchy and the timing of each. And when you put all of this stuff, it looks like this, and this is not easy. So I created this with Napkin AI, where from 2026 to 2032, it'll tell you which are the next elections. Who will do the voting for each of these elections? Because some of them suffrage direct, like we said, and some of them indirect, universal indirect. In that case, who will do the voting and whom is it for? What is their role? All of that stuff is over here. So when I look at this schema, and now I have to ask myself, is this something that I don't know? Then I can go back and research that. This is easier than a bunch of text that looks like this. So if you have a look at this, there is a date for the first 42 out of 272 cards. That means there are these 42 cards which I have reviewed and I know really well. And the rest of them are new. I have a lot of work to do. Now, I built this system to save my skin, but I know that many of you are in the same boat, looking at all of those government documents and panicking. And honestly, there's no information out there. We just started this exam thing in January 2026. It's February 2026 as I'm uploading this video, and there's no concours blanc, there's no test papers, there's nothing out there. You gotta do it yourself. If you've already purchased my French Nationality Anki deck in the past, then check your inbox. I'm adding the entire Test Civic 2026 module in there for free. With this Anki deck, the notebooks that I mentioned, and all of those little assets that I generated over my studies. It's my way of saying thank you for trusting me in this early on. I'm also tossing in the version 3 of my Fit in France handbook and the version 2 of my French mesh. These documents I have not yet shared online because still work in construction, but you'll be the first ones to see it. Fit in France is the handbook that I wish I had when I first moved here to France. It has all the tips and tricks a noob would make, the noob being me, so you don't have to make these mistakes yourself. And French mesh is a system I used to learn 9 languages over the years. It has all the myths we tell ourselves to avoid the work of learning a language, the exercises that have actually worked for me and have worked for plenty of polyglots, and a daily checklist that I used to use back in the day when I was acquiring French for the first time. Si jamais tu dois passer l'examen civique une deuxième fois, tu devrais régler 80 € après avoir déjà réglé 80 € pour la première fois. Si tu veux éviter de payer l'État 2 fois pour la même chose, bah achète le truc mon pote. Je le laisse en promo pendant une semaine pour 17 € de plus le coût de cet examen, soit 97 €, et ensuite ça redeviendra 197 €. As-tu impérativement besoin de cet achat pour réussir cet examen? Bah non, parce que moi j'ai rien acheté et je passe cet examen dans 40 jours, donc... So I showed you exactly how to do this yourself for free. But if your time is worth more than 97 €, here's how to take the preparation and the guessing, all that variables out of the equation. And you can start acquiring from day one. I'll tell you about my exam when I do it on the 20th of March, but now I have 20 more cards to review before it's dinner time. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and keep learning.